Good evening, chess fans, and welcome to this highly anticipated simul encounter, Garry Kasparov versus Dousik Vatsa. A classic matchup, experience versus ambition. Let's dive straight into the moves. Kasparov begins with pawn to d4. No surprises there, his favorite central start. Vatsa responds symmetrically with pawn to d5. Next comes pawn to c4, the queen's gambit, and Vatsa declines it with pawn to e6. A solid, traditional choice. He's saying, "I'm not giving you space that easily, Garry." Knight to f3, knight to f6, both sides developing naturally. And now Kasparov plays pawn to g3, heading into Catalan territory. This tells us Kasparov wants a long, strategic battle. Slow build-up, subtle pressure on the queen side, and long diagonals. Vatsa answers with knight to c6. Slightly uncommon, but active. Kasparov fianchettos his bishop to g2, and Vatsa plays bishop to b4 check. Interesting choice. He's trying to disturb White's development. Kasparov calmly blocks with bishop to d2, and Vatsa trades. Bishop takes on d2, queen recaptures. That trade may look harmless, but Kasparov's queen now eyes the kingside, and his bishop pair stays ready for action. Kasparov castles short, safe and steady. Vatsa plays pawn to b6, preparing a queenside fianchetto. And here comes the first critical decision. Kasparov captures on d5, cxd5. Vatsa recaptures xd5. Opening the position a little. This structure slightly favors White. Kasparov's pieces are freer. Now knight to c3, challenging the d5 pawn. Vatsa responds with knight to e4. He wants activity, putting pressure right in the center. Kasparov calmly plays queen to c2, subtly threatening to kick that knight away. Vatsa decides not to risk it. Knight takes knight, queen recaptures, and now Kasparov's queen is perfectly centralized. Kasparov brings a rook to the c-file, rook to c1. Open lines are his domain. Vatsa plays rook to e8. Simple, but slightly passive. White keeps tightening the screws. Pawn to e3, connecting the rooks. Vatsa plays rook to c8, trying to counter on the same file, but Kasparov's already there. And now here comes a typical Kasparov move. Pawn to b4, queenside expansion. He's gaining space, restricting Black's knight. Vatsa retreats that knight to a7. A defensive setup. Kasparov develops bishop to h3. Beautiful, aiming down the diagonal towards c8. That bishop is cutting through the board like a laser. Vatsa senses the pressure, shifts his rook with rb8, stepping away from tactical pins. But Kasparov seizes the moment. Queen takes on c7, and now the queens are off the board. Vatsa recaptures, bishop retreats, and soon both rooks are exchanged on the c-file. We're entering an endgame, and this is where Kasparov's experience shows. Let's pause and evaluate. The pawn structure is symmetrical, but look closer. White's pieces are more active. Kasparov's knight is about to dominate the board, and there it is, knight to a5, right in the center, commanding every square. Vatsa tries to push it away with pawn to f6, but Kasparov simply drops the knight back to d3. The maneuver is elegant, his knight is safe, and the dark squares are weak for Black. Vatsa pushes pawn to a5, looking for counterplay. Kasparov locks it with pawn to b5. Now Vatsa's queenside is frozen. He can't move there anymore. Knight to c8 from Vatsa. Passive but necessary defense. Kasparov just keeps improving. Pawn to a4, more space. And then knight to f4, circling like a predator. Pawn to h6 from Vatsa, trying to push back. Kasparov ignores it. Knight jumps to a6. That's a monster knight. Look at it. Planted right in the heart of Black's position. Rook to e8 from Vatsa, holding the file. And now Kasparov strikes. Knight takes on g7. A clean pawn, but more importantly, it rips open lines near the king. That's a tactical dagger. Vatsa's only hope. Rook to f8, defending. But Kasparov continues. Knight to f5, tightening the net. Pawn to h5 from Vatsa. Desperate. And now rook to c8 check. Vatsa recaptures, and here it comes. Knight to a7 check, king to f8, knight takes c8. And that's it. Kasparov wins. A masterclass in control. Precise, positional, then surgical tactics to finish. Vatsa defended bravely, but Kasparov's understanding of squares and timing was just too deep. The key theme? Activity and patience. Kasparov waited, built pressure, and converted flawlessly.